Hi, I'm John Maddox. I'm very pleased to introduce Tom Wolfe, who's the Senior Vice President for Business Development in Viant. Thank you for joining me today. So, yeah, obviously there's a lot going on in the streaming space right now. There's a lot of, let's call it, not turmoil, but things are evolving. Let's just say that. Things are evolving. So as streaming TV has evolved over the past couple of years with the rise of more and more channels, as they said in the previous panel, especially in the AVOD and FAST space. What is the impact of the fragmentation of all this content on viewers and advertisers?
On viewers and advertisers.
Yeah.
So everything's always evolving, right? And it's really the delivery mechanism, which we'll get into a little later, of IP is open up a world of possibilities from both content creation, distribution, and monetization. Which is both great and confusing for both consumers and advertisers. I think people here realize that. Originally, broadcast TV brought content, right? Cable brought choice, and streaming brings control. And control is probably the most important thing that people have been seeking. It fulfills the promise of what you want, where you want it. So great for consumers, very, very challenging for advertisers. Consumers are going to settle in to 4 or 5 apps. We saw this when I was at Roku. I think probably everyone in this room has 4 or 5 favorite apps tops. That creates a system of walled gardens. Everyone has their own data.
So like every individual viewer is creating their own walled garden?
Well, the channels are certainly creating their walled gardens, and with the concerns around privacy, everyone's going to have their own first-party data from both an OEM perspective and from a content provider perspective, right? If they don't already have that.
It's already sounding like it's getting like a Tower of Babel there. I mean, it's just, yeah.
But there's hope. There's hope, John.
Okay.
So the advertisers, of course, have to deal with all this, right? How do I buy 4 or 5 walled gardens, right? So I want to clarify something. I think you're going to hear it all day. The way that we define linear is probably a little bit more nuanced. I think people think of it as live TV. But live TV also exists in streaming environments. You have your virtual MVPDs, you have your Hulu Lives, which I'm a subscriber. When I hear linear, I think it's TV that's delivered over coax, cable, or broadcast. And that's a very different or nuanced definition than what I think most people think. Right, so as a buyer, you've got to figure out, how do I buy all these walled gardens? How do I buy linear as we know it? And that's a very, very complex problem for them. So I sympathize for them. It makes it challenging. There is hope, though, as we said. Right?
All right.
You want to hear it?
I want to hear your hope there. I mean, the elections turned out okay, right? So
it depends on your point of view. I have a point of view, but yeah.
It's not on here.
It's not on there, no. So for sure, the advertisers are in a challenging space, and they're going to have to figure out, do I go buy walled gardens, or how do I figure out how to buy omni-channel across television? And that's what we're here to figure out.
Okay. Next question. Sorry.
That's okay.
So
you're old school. You're linear.
I am totally linear. Am I? Is that a good thing? So how has the advent of Web 3, also known as the new open web, complemented the stratospheric growth of CTV in just the past couple of years?
Yeah, specifically as a distribution mechanism, right, in the delivery of video over IP.
Then what are what are the possibilities that presents now? That, I mean, as people are thinking about whatever the open web actually ends up being.
Well, there's certainly capabilities across the advertising units and things, and then there's the measurement piece of it. We can now measure digitally. So for everybody who's been using Nielsen for years and years, now you have an opportunity to think, well, what other means are out there, right? And that also makes it more confusing. Again, you have the walled gardens, and you have the various different measurement mechanisms within that, such as ACR data or registration data that comes with being a Roku subscriber or a Disney Plus subscriber or any other subscriber. So a lot of promise, but we have to sort it out. What we think is going to happen is what's old is going to be new again. Right? And so if you're an advertiser buying a walled garden, you get a certain piece of data, you have to figure out how to take whatever data and results you get from that and make it interoperable with the other walled gardens you're purchasing and anything else you're buying omni-channel horizontally. That's a very complex problem. And the data sets themselves are very different. An ACR data set, if you think about it, it certainly has value. For connected television 5 years ago, we needed it to show that it could add incremental viewers to a linear campaign. But when you think about ACR data, it's every manufacturer, it's a subset of a subset of a subset of a subset of data, from units shipped down to units sold to activations. those OEMs each sell into different types of people. They have upscale sets, they have downscale sets, they have A and B county distribution, they have C and D county distribution. None of it's representative of the US as a whole, making it extremely challenging for advertisers. So you need a trusted measurement source that knows how to find a representative sample and has solid methodology for measuring these things across different channels. And I believe that's going to end up being companies with whom we've been very familiar over the years, making comebacks in some cases. There are a lot of people trying to solve this problem. A lot of companies, we've talked to all of them, and they're ambitious and smart people. It is a very complex problem. And everyone seems to be focused on TV specifically and solving this linear and CTV problem. But that's going to go away in a few years also. So do we really want to spend our time there, or do we really want to spend our time figuring out how to solve the omni-channel measurement across all the platforms, or even within the platforms, vertically and horizontally?
There are a few things you said there. So first of all, you noted that some of the companies that have been doing this for a long time, name them if you want. Which ones do you think, or who's doing good work now? And one of the things that we've been hearing over the past couple of years is that there needs to be some type of industry standard or partnership, and there have been attempts to do that over the past couple of years. Things have changed a lot since they started doing that. So that's one. And the other thing is, I'm sorry, go answer that question first, and I'll come back.
Yeah, I don't know that I want to name specific companies at this point. We are talking to a lot of them. But the ones with more traditional research.
But do you really think it's going to be one? Will there be one that becomes a currency?
So this might be controversial compared to what we heard on the prior panel. It may be a few. I think a lot of the programmers are trying to say that to leverage some of the traditional ones, which is fine. It's good for them.
Right.
It's smart. For TV alone, I think there ultimately will be one currency again.
All right, but the other thing you said was that it's going away soon, or it's going away in a couple of years. So why would you bother? Why invest so much time and money in that when what is coming after that?
Right, so what I meant by that in particular is that people are leaving linear as it's defined by broadcast and coax in droves, and it's going to continue to accelerate, and we're spending all this time trying to figure out what does my measurement look like across linear and streaming. By the time we figure out the perfect solution, everyone will have left linear. You can already reach the majority of the population in streaming TV alone. Right, so in Q2, 48% of people watched, according to eMarketer, streaming TV. But 42% of the budgets went to streaming. So there's a gap there. In Q3, streaming viewership actually exceeded linear viewership, and the budgets are still where they are. I think it was Pixability that reported recently that 87% of people can be reached on streaming through the YouTube app alone. If you couple in the other 3 or 4 apps that they watch, you're going to hit everybody, especially everybody that most advertisers want to reach. Right? If you think about the people who aren't streaming right now, they're probably outside the target groups of most advertisers. So we spend all this time trying to solve this problem, and we really should be doubling down on the future. How are we going to measure streaming TV alone? Because when you couple it with the other channels you're buying, you can have a really solid full funnel marketing campaign from brand awareness at the top through connected television, whether it's a linear program that's being run on a streaming TV where the ads are being served digitally, down through reaching a user on the mobile device that you know sits in the household, down to attribution at the location or purchase level.
Wait, time is really flying. I want to combine a couple of questions. So, the title of this panel is incrementality, or incremental no more.
Yeah.
So let's just talk about that. And Disney, obviously, for a giant company like Disney, working in streaming, creating an ad-supported VOD, Disney Plus, is still an incremental strategy, right? But you're saying that incrementality will not, it's incremental no more. So what are the misconceptions about programmatic and its ability to measure and attribute accurately in CTV?
Right, I want to be careful not to misspeak about any programmer's strategy. I'm a huge Disney Plus fan. And other apps out there.
The best show on TV.
And when thinking about that answer, I was going to say Andor as well. And The Bear on Hulu is very good, if you haven't watched it. I lost the question already.
Are there any misconceptions about programmatic's ability to deliver in CTV, basically?
Yes, there are misconceptions, and it's related to the mess we've created to ourselves for ourselves a little bit with all the different kinds of measurement that we've talked about, which, by the way, is totally logical and understandable. Again, 5 years ago when we were all trying to figure out what this meant, we had to figure something out and come up with something. But the misconceptions are that either the data isn't good or it's not right. But again, if you look at something like what we work on is our household ID and our household graph. We can build an audience based off the physical address using other deterministic and probabilistic identifiers to put together a complete picture. And you can find those users throughout their home and throughout their personal devices, throughout the marketing funnel, from streaming, because all the ads are delivered digitally. And again, all the way through to the purchase if you have to. This is new for most people. Most people still want to think about TV traditionally. There's still a lot of infrastructure changes that need to happen, whether it's on the brand side or the buyer side. Some agencies are very progressive. Others are still set up in a traditional way where they're buying TV and broadcast teams still exist and things like that, especially as you go deeper into the smaller markets. But yeah, so we'll get there. Programmatic will be a source of measurement. I think the prior panel, they hinted at that as well, right? It won't be a problem for long.
Okay, now, in the remaining time that we have left, I just want you to put on your, look into your crystal ball and give us a little forecast.
My forecast.
Yes, please. So, a year from now, what will be abundantly clear to everyone attending this conference that isn't clear today?
Yeah, I think I gave that one away already. I think we'll all realize we spent time chasing measurement across linear and CTV, and everyone will have left linear by the time we figured it out.
When do you think that's going to happen?
The last person who is on the coax cable, who knows? That's probably 5 years away. But for the audiences that we want to reach, I think
as far as advertisers and brands are concerned, and want to be, obviously will be devoting huge portioning their budget to the space
within 2 years.
Within 2 years,
Yeah.
you think that
Yeah.
that linear will be an afterthought?
Yeah. The big draw of traditional linear television is sports. We've already seen Amazon make a move into there. I think Disney and NBC and the other companies that run sports will continue to push that into the streaming environment, and more people will just do it. Every television sold now has streaming built in. Yeah, it's inevitable.
So you think that it's just because of the technology that people are literally going to be watching? So if we're gathering in a sports bar and we're watching the World Cup or Monday Night Football or something, that the majority of Americans are going to be watching through some type of connected device,
Yes.
as opposed to their coaxial
Yes.
or Fios or whatever?
Yes. Comcast, Spectrum, they've all doubled down on broadband. They're doubling down on mobile delivery. They reduce a lot of costs by getting rid of the set-top boxes, the traditional set-top boxes. They're going to start to just tell you, get a streaming box. We'll give you one if you need it, and everything will be streamed. And eventually, all the ads that follow are going to be streamed as well. You're going to see changes in ad loads driven by streaming. We started at Roku. We did, I think we started with 8 minutes an hour on the Roku channel, and I think Pluto and Tubi, they all had that kind of ad load as well. It's going to be a very interesting time, but all ads are going to be delivered via IP within the next couple of years. At least, again, to reach the audiences that most advertisers want to reach.
All right, so then if this is going to happen over the next couple of years, what do people need to do to prepare for that? Or what aren't they doing that they should have been doing or should be doing right now, or as soon as they leave the room?
I can't speak for everyone in the room, but trust your instincts. Think back to what it was like when we all kind of understood what does good measurement look like, what does a good measurement company look like. There are companies out there, again, that are trying hard, that have great people in those companies who came from traditional measurement companies trying to figure this out. But at the moment that we think, that we embrace, streaming is the future and it's going to be there, it'll be a lot easier to figure out. A lot easier.
And we have a few seconds left. Make the case for programmatic and what you guys, you always refer to your DSP as a people-based DSP. What is the difference? And make the case for programmatic in this space to tie it all together.
Well, we started at the household level with our graph, right? And we've been cookieless for years, almost to a fault because the cookie apocalypse keeps getting pushed out. But again, if you can identify a household, and then you can identify the users in the household by taking multiple identifiers beyond just email, you're going to have a more efficient and effective graph. That's going to help you activate more effectively and efficiently. You won't have a lot of waste or spillover, and then the reporting will be more accurate. So it's exciting. Now, I'm a reformed cable guy. I mean, I used to argue on behalf of cable. So not that adds any bona fides, but
linear is dead, long live TV, is that what you're
Yeah.
saying? All right, I think it's a good place to end it, Tom.
CTV is mainstream, and it's spectacular.
All right, well, thank you very much. Tom Wolfe from Viant. Thank you so much for joining us.